What's up, y'all? LTJ Regis here. This is Throwing Light, and if you're not throwing light, you're not acting right. Before we jump in, just want to remind you guys there is this. I don't know exactly how I'm going to come up with something clever yet, but I need you guys to follow my YouTube channel because all the Throwing Light interviews are on there, and then we have the Throwing Light panels. I'm going to be releasing the Throwing Light New York panel this weekend. Please, please, please tell everybody to follow YouTube. You're going to get able to see some other cool things that I'm working on in my personal work. I've got music videos coming. I'm working on a horror film and I'm working on a documentary and some other things. So please follow me. I can't wait to show you all the cool stuff that I do outside of leather and out of throwing light, but follow me and you will learn about that all soon. With that being said, let's go ahead and take it over to our interview. I've got Josh here. Boy
Hello.
Josh, can I call you Boy Josh?
Yes, you can.
From
That is it.
Virginia. Okay.
Yes.
Are you in Norfolk?
Yes, I am. I am in Norfolk.
So I know zero about what it's like in Virginia. I might have driven through there when I was a
Mhm.
kid with my parents when I was like 8. It's like a purple state, huh?
Yeah.
It kind of has its moods, I guess you can say.
Yeah, it does.
So,
Um,
are you from Virginia originally?
yes, I'm originally from Chesterfield. It's near Richmond. Um, and then I ended up here.
Okay. So was there a particular reason why you moved or
So I ended up moving to a small town in Matthews, which is like the middle of nowhere. I actually, it was a weird situation. I ended up getting married very young, uh, and moved to Matthews, and with him. And then a little bit after that, I moved to this area.
married
So,
very young? Of course, I'm going to want to ask questions about this.
okay.
I, I haven't heard this story before. I'm curious. And I
There,
haven't had someone on here that it's like, oh, I'm married young.
yeah.
So you got married young. So what brought you to that? Can I ask how old you are?
Yeah, I'm 25.
Okay, so what, you got married when you're like 21?
I got married when I was 18.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Did your parents know?
Do you want the full story on that?
I
Because
want
it's
a
a whole
story
story.
that you're comfortable with because someone might need to hear this story.
I can tell the story. It's a pretty deep story, but I'm willing to tell it.
Okay.
Um, so, uh, Obviously, I've always been attracted to older men my whole life. I've like, I have no interest in guys my own age. I don't know what that is. I'm just wired that way. Um, so early on, I ended up meeting somebody, and it was a little bit of, it wasn't a great situation looking back. Um, I met him when I was 17 and a half, and he was uh 47. So already not a good situation to be in. Of course, I was young. I didn't know any better.
Right. You didn't know
Um,
that at the time.
yeah. And I did love him when I like once eventually. He was he was my first love, right? So a lot of that, like that blinds a lot of stuff. So there were certain pressures around that situation that pushed me to get married to him. He used certain things like obviously it was a big secret, right, that we were together, and like obviously I wanted to be able to tell people that I was in a relationship. And at a certain point, he mentioned that, oh well, once you do start telling people, and like if you're once your parents find out, if we're married, then there's certain protections that you would have. Like I wouldn't have to testify against him. That was one of the ones that he used. So there was a little bit of manipulation there, a little bit of grooming, obviously.
Yeah.
Not a great situation. And also my family wasn't the most accepting. My dad was pretty homophobic from just what I've seen as a kid. And my mom was very religious. So it was the pressure from him plus the feeling of like if I were to tell them before I got married to him, then they would try to stop me or something, right? So I ended up this ties into my coming out story. I ended up moving all of my stuff to his house. And then we drove to Key West and got married on the beach. And I drove back and I had to give the phone calls to all of my family members, telling them not only that I was gay, but that I just got married. And I got married to a 47-year-old, somebody 25 years older than me. So obviously that didn't go very well. And so for a while after that, my relationship with my family wasn't great. Fortunately, most of them have kind of gotten used to it and it's better now, but yeah. So that's my coming out story. It's different for sure than most people.
That is a
Yeah,
that is a layered story.
it
But thank
definitely
you for
is.
sharing that because I think age is something a lot of people think, I think there tends to be, let's be honest, an older man can get away with being with a younger woman, but when you see an older man with a younger boy, then it starts a little different conversation and speculation. I think, and sometimes, obviously, that's more looked down upon. And I mean, look at what's going on in our country right now. They're trying
Yeah,
to, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So, as someone that grew up right at the dawn of the internet, and was on the internet a lot at a young age, I also myself met a lot of older men, and probably men I
mhm,
should not have met. And so, I know it's wild, but it happens. And, your
yeah,
parents are not there. Your parents are, you're alone a lot of the time, and you're
yeah,
looking to somehow to fulfill that loneliness, but you're also curious at the same time. And
mhm,
so, I made a lot of decisions looking back on it. Like, I could have, something bad could have happened to me. But
yeah,
when you're that age, I think you're just eager to change your situation, if that makes sense. And I grew up
yeah,
in a religious home as well. So if I had an opportunity, or, when I did my first year of college, I almost flunked out and lost my scholarship. So I had to go to summer school. But I tell you, I would have
mhm,
done whatever it took at that age to not go back to my house. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like if I had met someone that said they loved me and would have been 50, 60 years older than me, I would have took that option over returning home and being with people that I didn't feel like knew me.
yeah.
Um, when you are, how do you, I'm sure obviously I hope that you don't have an insecurity about dating older, but do you feel that you get a lot of like looks, people judge you, surprise?
I mean, I've never really worried about it that much. I don't know why. It just hasn't really bothered me. I've always been in relationships like that. That was my first real relationship, so I don't know. It never really bothered me. I got very used to it quickly.
Mm,
And
that's
I realized for some reason, like even the people in like those rural areas, I didn't really feel like there was that much criticism, or at least not to my face. So um I don't know, I didn't really me personally, I didn't really experience a lot of judgment there.
so. Did you discover leather during that relationship or after that relationship?
Yeah, so it was after that relationship. That relationship ended. I moved. So I was actually pretty secluded in that area. I didn't talk to my family much. I was maybe one of like five gay people in that town. So zero gay life there. I ended up moving to Newport News, which is near where I live now. And I met my best friend Greg, and Greg took me to my first Pride event. And at that Pride event was where I saw the Mr. Virginia leather sash for the first time. And I saw that and I was like, oh, well, what is this Mr. Virginia leather thing? Um, Between those times, I had met somebody else. And so I went to my partner at that time, Robert, and I asked, have you ever heard of this? Look, this is this thing. I told him, hey, I saw Mr. Virginia leather. And he was like, oh, well, I was Mr. Cleveland leather in like, I think 2008. Um, so obviously knew all about it. So I started asking questions, and he ended up being a mentor to me, teaching me what all leather was about, the protocol, and everything like that. And I think that's what really got me interested in it. Um, and I ended up going back to the the one that I met, who was Mr. Virginia Leather at the time, which was Fire Daddy Ken, and we became pretty close. And he kind of introduced me to the local community, and I ended up joining the Nighthawks, which was the club that he was in, and that's where I really got involved in like the community service side of it and found my passion for that. Um, and then like throughout that time, me and Ken were Ken ended up being my second mentor in leather, and he really helped me establish myself in the broader leather community by traveling to dozens of leather kink bear events and stuff like that. And then that's where I really got the sense of community, and like I felt at home in this community, and really saw what it was all about. And yeah, so throughout that time, I met some different people. I met some guys from Potomac that I really liked and ended up becoming an associate of that club. And now today, I have started my own club just recently called the Virginia Boys of Leather, and it's a community service based club. And that's kind of what I've been doing lately. So that's my overall leather journey.
I'm going to get
So
specific with you.
yeah.
There's some broadness here that I'm just curious about asking you all the questions now.
Mhm.
So what specifically about the leather community did you connect with?
I just enjoyed like the way that it is used to express what you want. So like the flagging was a really big thing for me. I thought that was really cool how I can display what kinks I'm into by wearing a certain color. And then like he had taught me that there were certain styles of harnesses that meant different things. So I think what he had taught me was a harness that doesn't go across the chest means that you are more of the dominant role, and the ones that go across the chest, and especially the ones that have the cock strap down to the cock ring, uh, it's like designed. The idea of it is that the sir would lead his boy around by that strap, and so like those symbolic meanings of like just expressing my role, kind of. I thought that was fun. I thought that was a fun thing to do. I don't know.
You know more than me. Congratulations.
Yeah. Well, this is also like he was more old guard at the time that he had previously been involved in leather. Um and he had actually gotten out of it and didn't come back until I got into it. Um so a lot of that stuff probably isn't practiced anymore. But
But what do you have an understanding what the new guard is?
yeah, I do. I mean,
Do
yeah.
you feel a part of that?
Yeah, I'm more well, I'm kind of both. I like the vibe of New Guard, but still carrying some of the old guard traditions, like the symbolic meanings of stuff. So
So you identify as a boy in the community.
yes.
So you said Potomac.
Mhm.
Like the Real Housewives of Potomac.
No.
Of course, it's like that.
Yeah.
I've never been to Potomac, but so I want to go back. So you have created a group for boys in leather. Okay.
Yes.
Did you feel that that was something missing in the community?
Yeah, so that whole club kind of started when the idea came up when Robert was kind of telling me his story, and he actually founded the Ohio Boys of Leather. And when he told me that, I was like, oh, that would be cool to have a boys club here, but I didn't know anything about it. That was at the very, very beginning of my journey. But it was kind of in the back of my mind the whole time. And as I went through my leather journey and met more people and got to know this local community, um, I realized that some of the traditional purposes of a boys club would have applied here really well. So like uh, a boys' club is traditionally designed for community service, first of all, but also as like a supporting group for the other clubs and groups, um, and kind of to tie together those clubs and connect them. Um, and early on, I didn't really see much of a division until I kind of got more involved, and I saw that like I would go to a Nighthawks event and I didn't see any leather women. So I kind of just assumed there aren't leather women in my area. Okay. But then throughout my experience, I found out there's a whole group of leather women and they just don't come to our events. Or, you know, there's different factions around that kind of stick to themselves. Even not just leather, but even outside of leather. Like there's so many kink groups here that are not really related to our leather groups. Like they don't come to our stuff. But I saw that and I was like, if I could kind of interact with support like each of these groups and kind of try to bring those together, I would hopefully end up with a more cohesive, diverse leather community like what I've seen in some of my other travels to other areas. So that was kind of the idea that that and of course I've been very passionate about community service and that's a big part of it as well.
What type of community service?
Um, like me personally, what I really like is doing different fundraisers. Um, like I enjoy going to the food bank and stocking shelves and stuff like that, but it's just because it's like a good thing to do. But what I really enjoy is, throwing a party and making that into a fundraiser. Or like I started a Speedo car wash with the Nighthawks, and we raise more money there than anything else that we do other than our contest.
I'm gonna write
Um,
that down. Thank you for that
yeah,
idea.
and it's
Write that down.
fun. So
We'll,
like
we'll be using
that,
that.
yeah. So like it's fun. I like finding fun ways to raise money and get people involved in what we're doing.
We always do jock auctions down here in Texas. I'm so bored.
That too.
I have to MC one of them next week, and I'm only doing it because I love the people that ask me. But I am
Yeah.
always vocal, like, come on, y'all. We gotta do other stuff. And then I don't know. I don't think I look that great in certain jocks, and they like to get those old school ones, and like it presses against me, and it just
Mm.
not flattering. So I always tell people there are so many fun ways to raise money.
Right.
So I don't know. The thing I can say about being down here in Texas, and especially in Austin, I can speak for my immediate community. I'm
Mhm.
going through a little, I guess you said, it's kind of a Phoenix phase right now because I feel the leather person that I've been the past 3 years needs to change and grow, and so I'm kind of like mentally not identifying as just a Texas leather person right now because I have to be outside of the community a little bit sometimes to protect the work I do because it's so new and different. And you have a
Mhm.
lot of people stuck in old ways and doing things that it's hard to change a community from the inside. And the
Yeah.
reason I say that is because everything about the community is inside the community, the good and the bad. So when you become involved in this community, yeah, you might have positive intentions and take on positive things, but you're also inheriting community problems. And I struggle with that. I struggle with how people carry themselves. I struggle with working with people, like just how people respond or like do on internet is enough for me to get frustrated and not want to work with someone. So my
Yeah.
issue right now is trust, and it's something that transcends just Texas, but specifically for me in Texas right now, I'm trying to build a trust with everyone, and that takes time. Um, I don't know how much you know about being, an actual title holder and what you go through, but there's a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, self doubt, wondering if you're doing enough, and all these things that affect your mental health. It's not an easy job.
Yeah.
But I've learned, going to IML and now focusing on a career and a life that is authentic to me that doesn't have anything to do around a contest.
Mhm.
It can be very difficult to navigate people that are doing the real work and people that are just taking up space, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
the way they take up space might be causing drama or something like that. I don't know,
Mhm.
through your creation of doing this group, Virginia Boys of Leather, if you've met any challenges, have you met any eye rolls? Have you had people saying you shouldn't, have you had any of that trouble?
No, and like I was actually kind of surprised. Like we kind of expected some of the other clubs to not
Mm,
be okay with a new club coming out.
yeah,
And it wasn't that at all. They were actually very supportive of us, and they actually include us in whatever they can. They're always talking about us in our meetings and stuff. So I actually haven't seen anything. I've seen nothing but support from my local community.
good.
And also like a large portion of the community here knows me, and I think that probably helps as well. So they're kind of cheering me on for whatever I'm doing anyways. So
As they should. You're doing real work, doing new
yeah.
work, and you've created a space that wasn't there before that is necessary. So be
Mhm.
proud of what you're doing. I do want to go and talk a little bit about you competing. You
Mhm.
competed for Miss Virginia Leather twice. Was it back to back?
Yes.
And you're thinking about doing it a third time back to back?
Yes.
So I have a
Kind of
buddy
fun.
here. I have a buddy here. He has competed in two. Look, as someone, I did not win the first time I competed. I
Mhm.
competed for Mr. Texas, didn't win, and things fell into my lap months later, and I ran for Mr. Austin when I got it. So I'm always talking about that dust yourself off, try again moment.
Mhm.
I think for a friend of mine that has done back to back contests, and I absolutely adore him. But his message is usually about HIV,
Mhm.
and that message does do wonders outside the leather community because there are a lot of people that don't have a connection. I think inside the leather community, though, we're pretty like that's not a shocker.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
there's so many resources in the leather community where I don't think we're more pressed about people being educated than
Mhm.
if people are scared to have HIV or come out, like though that can happen here. So I guess what I'm getting at is that I lost my train of thought a little bit here. What I found is that we can do a lot of things that sometimes um, I feel like we're superheroes in the leather community because we have such a concentrated amount of culture. I
Mhm.
I did not have any trans friends until I became a leather person. I had one that passed
Mhm.
away, but having access to community activists and trans men, it was all new, and I absolutely love it and love having this diversity. But our diversity isn't really like what the mainstream culture is. It's
Yeah.
run by superficial kind of gay ideas
Mhm.
that we're discriminated against them at times. You know what I'm saying? The
Mhm.
mainstream gay culture. Um, what are you doing different each time you run?
Um, I mean, I changed a lot. I improved a lot between the first and second time. The first time I was still really early in my leather journey, so I think just the biggest change is my experience level. I'm doing things throughout the year to, you know, get to know the community more and be more experienced and ready for it. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing that I notice when I'm like putting together my applications and planning out what I'm going to do and everything is I have a lot more to work with now than I did earlier on. So,
I went on the message of growth. So
mhm.
when I competed for my first contest when I was 8 months old in the leather community. I consider my birthday to be August 2022. There was no Austin Eagle at the time. Austin Eagle was created during the first competition. Well, they had opened right before the first Austin Key weekend that I attended, and that was like my introduction to the community. And
Mhm.
people saw me. I wasn't super thrilled about my performance, but I competed against three really, really amazing people that still are like my brothers and are amazing, and we're still all doing the work right now. So it's great. I really think it was just I've seen a lot of leather contests, but I have to pat myself on the back because that's one of the hardest lineups of contestants that I competed or I've seen at Mr. Texas, to be honest with you, the 2023 class. But then 13 months in, I win the Austin Eagle title. I had never been IML,
Yeah.
and everything was still new. So like
Mhm.
experience, I feel like if the community really, really sees that you care and you really have a direction, age is but a number. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I would have loved to compete at IML maybe when I was a decade older or something and had a lot of things, but it was a launching pad for me, and I took it for what it was to now have the experience and the exposure and the influence that I have now. So I congratulate you on competing and doing it twice because that's not easy. And then wanting to do a third time, I wish you the best of luck in whatever you achieve. I hope that you find the title that's right for you. If it's not that title, but keep at it. If it's what you really want and you really want to prove yourself, you can do it. I think you creating these groups is a great way
Yeah.
to show that you can produce.
Mhm.
Producing events is a big thing. You're doing that now. Um, we're getting close to the end. I
Mhm.
generally ask the same question for everyone. I'm trying to make sure there's nothing else that I want to ask you before I ask you this question. There's been some great stuff in here. So I guess I will go to the last question and we might talk a little bit longer. What is one aspect of our community that you feel that we are not shedding enough light on?
I feel like we need to give people the ability to be wrong and to learn. Especially lately, I've been noticing a lot of hostility in like social media and stuff like that.
Yep.
Different opinions being shared and just the hostility and the responses to that. I think people are very on edge with everything that's going on in the world, and like the sentiment of we can't agree to disagree. I think is valid, and protecting your peace is important, but I think the line where that's necessary is kind of getting blurred with everything because of how on edge people are. And I think it's important to be able to have discourse with people and uh, you know when you think that something that somebody is saying online is wrong, educate them and don't just automatically dismiss them or condemn them, right? Just because that's what I've seen a lot recently on social media and everything. And I've also learned from trying to become a leader in the community that um, in order, like, it's very important that you gain people's respect in order for them to listen to you, right? Um, so I think when you want to influence people, um, responding with aggression and hostility obviously is not going to gain that respect. But if you respond to them with empathy and, they're a lot more likely to listen and to hear your point of view and maybe change. So that's something that I've noticed lately is a need in our community because we need to be together, especially right now. And if we're fighting against each other, then it's going to be a lot harder to fight for the things that are really important right now. So
It takes maturity, and
yeah.
I've seen a lot of even prominent people. I've seen people arguing with the cat picture dude, like I don't
Yeah.
on Facebook. Like it's a lot. It's I People don't know how to be productive on social media.
Mhm.
And you have a lot of people that live on social media because they have no other access to anything. So they're absorbing everything as fact a lot of the time.
Yeah.
They don't understand that social media profiles are profiles of
Mhm.
people. It's not the
Alexa,
whole person.
sleepy time.
What do you say? Hello? Maybe that was an accident. Okay, my thing right now, honestly, is that I am like kind of watching how people act on Facebook, and I'm using that as reservation and a way of setting boundaries because my like going back to what I said at the beginning, I don't want to work with people that don't have the maturity. And to be honest, what you're saying, I have seen people be like, I'm going to have a thoughtful argument on here. I'm not going to call names or whatever. And that does get good responses. But like racism isn't a difference of opinion. You know what I'm saying? Like, and
And
so
yeah,
that's where the line blurs now.
that's the line. Like there is a
Yeah,
line where it's like you can't really have a conversation with this
yeah.
person. They're just fundamentally not in the right place. But like I think especially recently with everything that's been going on, like because people are so on edge about everything, I feel like they're a lot quicker to jump the gun on somebody. And
It's
so I don't know.
division. We're
Yeah,
literally we are reacting to what is happening to us, and we are being
yeah,
divided. So we're letting things divide us, and it's
exactly.
very hard to push unity when division is the easy sell. I mean,
Yeah.
like everybody forgets, like during it wasn't back in the early 2010s when we had a president with class and stuff. He did not make us fight. There was not drama every
Hmm.
day. There weren't crimes coming out being covered up. This is a new kind of special. It's disgusting,
Yeah.
and it's just at the end of the day, it just can't sustain itself.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're seeing like kind of a mini resurgence of like reconstruction attitudes and like racism that are now just for the lowest of low. And so the lowest of low can't govern high people, if that makes sense. People
Yeah.
that are above the nonsense and actually, and so it just feels like our it feels like the quality of people has lowered.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel that way too.
So look. The one thing I do, one thing that people have always said, I'm an internal optimist,
Hmm.
and I don't know why we are going through this, and we've had like so many red flags. Like the amount of red flags, we have more red flags than people in some countries that right now. Like that's how many red flags we have. We have millions of red flags. I don't know why things are playing out the way. I just think that lies and manipulation and aggressive lies and manipulation were able to really confuse the masses, and people just didn't know where to align. I think now people are kind of like, this is our lives are not improving. um, you don't hear trans people being talked about as much now, because people are starting to see that trans people aren't affecting their pocketbook. They're not arresting people in ICE. Like all these things that trans people are not doing. We're not talking about a bunch of trans people being in the Epstein files. You get what I'm saying? So the dam will break. I do believe
Yeah.
that. It's got so many cracks in it. And I
Yeah.
think at some point, people will be exhausted and they're going to want something different. There's no way that I
I
believe anybody wants another 4 years of this. That will never happen.
I hope not.
What do you say?
I said I hope not.
No, I do not. I do
Yeah.
not.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. No. So, and my reasoning for why I don't think so is just it's really gross digestion, and people are you're seeing people with more like stank faces. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So, all right, I think that's about it, Josh. That was a great interview. There's a lot of new things that we discussed that I think a lot of people will be able to relate to.
Hmm.
So, with that being said, I guess we are near the end of the show. I just want to say, keep doing what you're doing. I'm a supporter of you. Anytime that you need any help, if you want to reach out to me, please do, and I will do what I can. So there's one thing left to do. Josh, are you ready?
Hmm.
Go ahead and do it.
If you're not throwing light, you're not acting right.
There we go. And remember, born perfect. I see your shirt.
Yeah.
There you go, everybody. All right, y'all. Well, that's been another episode of Throwing Light, and we're out.